don't try to be a influencer, just be an expert in your field.
Yeah.
And be as niche as possible and be as direct to your client as possible.
But if you're looking at long form messaging, you're looking at getting an idea out at scale that you want to repeat and touch people in a little bit of a longer form than a 1-minute video, everybody out there is trying to figure out how to get around that old school person-to-person networking.
And you got to do something different. You can't just do what everybody else is doing. I've never cold called anybody. Hello, my name is Maurice Mokan, realtor here in the Sarasota, Florida area. On this episode of Discover Sarasota, Florida, today we have Chris Solomé. Chris and I met at a coffee shop, one of my favorite spots here, Project Coffee, in the historic Burns Court of Sarasota, Florida. It is an amazing little spot, and I like to go over there to kind of put my head down, get on my laptop, have a good cup of coffee, and do some work. I kind of overheard him speaking to one of his clients about video, and I saw that his client had left, and I said, hey, overhearing your conversation, but what is it that you do?
Yeah.
So now what do you do? Tell us.
Yeah. So very specifically, I work mainly with coaches, consultants, and public speakers, people that are trying to grow a personal brand, much like you guys are doing here. I mean, in this really cool studio that you've created inside of your office. Oftentimes, they're busy professionals. They're actually successful in the outside world and are trying to translate that into taking their messaging, making it clean, clear, directing it towards a target audience, and they don't know how to do it. Or they don't want to do it. They don't want to push the buttons. They don't want to run the tech. You know, we're surrounded by all these beautiful cameras and lighting, and it looks as if like this kind of happens on its own very easily. They're tricked into this idea that you can do it just from your phone, which of course people can do
better than nothing.
Wonderful content from their phone. But if you're looking at long form messaging, you're looking at getting an idea out at scale that you want to repeat and touch people in a little bit of a longer form than a 1-minute video. That's basically what I help them flesh out and then create these large batches of content. Like we were talking about prior to starting, you know, that they can then go back to work. They know they have 3 to 6 months of content in the bank, and then they can start to push that out with regularity, at will.
Absolutely. And that's what we built this place for. It took us just to get to where we are now. You know, this isn't the first version of what we came up with. We actually were in a tiny little room, and somehow we fit a 4-person setup, and you were literally bobbing and weaving and trying to get through all this gear and equipment. And we started getting like buzzing sounds because of interference with things. We started, we were playing around with way different lighting. As you can see, this is nice and, diffused lighting that makes you look amazing. You don't have the dark spots under here, like the Batman eyes, like all this didn't come together overnight. We bought stuff over and over again, and now we kind of dialed it in. We got our, sound, our camera gear and everything to the way it is. And we basically did this for ourselves. We wanted to have a good marketing tool, and it's a good way to rub elbows with other people in town that, invite them in for a podcast.
Yeah.
And then, obviously those people have very successful friends, right, that see those podcasts and they're like, where'd you shoot that, right?
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how we came up with this studio. And actually, we just naming this, we didn't intend it to be a publicly marketed tool, right, like a resource for people. So we were sitting there on sunbiz.org and we were like, what should we name this thing? How about Sunbiz Studios?
I actually thought that was brilliant when you did that, because every entrepreneur in Florida, when we're re-upping our licenses,
we go on Sunbiz.
You go on Sunbiz. So, it must drop somewhere right under there. I'm sure you've dialed the SEO in as well.
I think it was just an accidental thing. And we've actually gotten people calling us just out of the blue.
Yeah.
And we're like, what? How did you even hear about us?
Oh, no, I'm seeing your partner's big grin across his face right now, like just shaking his head like that. That idea was a good one.
Exactly. And that was, we stumbled across good ideas, but we also stumbled across bad ideas too. So those don't make it in the final cut,
right,
in the final edit.
Well, and that, like, in and of itself could be, your mantra as far as the difficulty of somebody that's trying to get any kind of messaging out, because you have we're all flooded with ideas. If you're a creative person, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, ideas might be your biggest problem, because sometimes it's like, I've got 1,000 ideas that I can do, and then we get confused, we get overwhelmed, we get frustrated, and then don't do it. And then, like you talked about walking into it, I'm just doing some math, looking around at what, the spend might have been to set this place up, let alone the graveyard of equipment and, spend that you had prior trying to get this place dialed in.
And buying a building.
And buying a building to do it, right? I mean, that's commitment. Good job, guys.
Exactly. So, we wanted to set ourselves apart. You've got a lot of realtors in Florida, everywhere, and you got to do something different. You can't just do what everybody else is doing. I've never cold called anybody. I haven't gone to like a official listing presentation where I'm selling myself. It's usually like they saw me on video or I know them through my sphere. And if they're calling me, it's like they're already ready to go, whether they're buying or selling or whatever they want to do, because somehow they've come across content or, they've gotten to know me. So I've never really sat there and like pitched a listing presentation, Yeah.
I love that you're saying that right now, because I'm sure you get this question. I get this question a lot. Isn't it already saturated inside of, video? I think everybody thinks that the only avenue to go is, kind of an Instagram, TikTok, orientation. Oh, I don't have the skill set to do that. But what you just said is super powerful for anybody that's looking to grow a clientele type of business, right? So whether you're an attorney, whether you're a real estate, professional, whether you're a hairstylist, and it looks saturated because everybody opens their phones, but that's where you're getting the majority of your business. So if somebody was brand new, I'll turn the table on you really, quickly. What do you tell these people when you're talking to them about why this setup is here, why it might be helpful for them to work video in, and how did you dial in that your clientele is fully coming from that, and you're not doing, I think there's a million people, I'll end this rant by just saying, everybody out there is trying to figure out how to get around that old school person-to-person networking when it's, like you and I shook hands in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
That's happened to me multiple times while editing a video or something like that, and on to my next 6 or 12 months of work, based on that handshake. That's a beautiful thing. But a lot of your introductions are coming straight through a digital presence somewhere where you posted a piece of content. Is that still doable for somebody new? And if so, how do you suggest they get started?
I think that just start, right? And be niche. Niche it down as far as you can. I'm a realtor in Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch.
Yeah.
That's it. Sarasota County, Manatee County.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't need to be all of Florida. I don't need to be Florida's realtor, right? I think just niche it down as much as you can. You're not going to be a viral realtor.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. You're going to have like 2,000 followers probably. That's where the big guys are in town. The ones that do very well. And they make a lot more than the $1 million, the million follower social media influencer. I feel like they, consistently, right? Don't try to be a influencer. I think just be an expert in your field.
Yeah.
And be as niche as possible and be as direct to your client as possible. And don't try to be all these other things, that there's a lot of paralysis of analysis.
Yeah.
You start to think too much. But I think at the end of the day, speak on here the way you speak to your clients, right? Like I'm talking to the camera the way, and I'm talking to you the way that I speak to every single one of my customers. And I'm natural. I don't have a script anywhere here.
Yeah.
We have teleprompters for different people that use it for different things. Sometimes I'll, on that whiteboard right there, that dry erase board there, I'll put a few bullet points that I want to hit. I want to make sure that I hit this, and this, but that's only for, just memory recall to like make sure I hit those points. But I think that people are looking for a personality. They just want to see your personality. They want to see that, do I like this guy? Do I want to work with this guy? Is this guy somebody that I feel like I can mesh well in business?
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you say that. I always like to hear what successful people are doing. Because I grew an audience inside of the hair world, but then I turned videographer to where my focus is all on everybody else. And so I started to ask myself, like, wow, is what I'm telling them correct?
Right.
And, what we're always talking about is, what is the thing you're an authority in? What's the proof that you have that you're an authority in that? So like proof rather than preaching, right? Like I did this is better than you should do that. And then what are the core problems that your clients are having? Like if you were to think about the thing that somebody should turn to you to help them solve, for instance, real estate in Lakewood Ranch, right? That's the part, you're the person they should come to for that.
We have pain points.
Yes, right? You build those pain points, and then those are the pain points that you're always kind of talking about. And then do you have a solution for those pain points, and kind of like jumping from problem to result. Here's how we helped this person that was struggling to find a home that fit their budget or their dream life, what they were looking for. And, you know, now look at happy family inside of place. Or, you know, this is the procedure that I go through that's different or better or, you know, than other. And people, you know, will start to differentiate you. And there's, you know, every different discipline has this problem solution type of thing going on. And then, you know, just kind of orienting yourself to what are the questions that your client might be asking inside of their head in the exact words that they use it. So like YouTube has dialed in this incredible algorithm that I'm not an expert on, but like when you ask a question in YouTube, you ask it in a very specific language. How do I swimming pool motor broken, you know, blah, 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 or, you know, car is making this noise. Like it's with specificity when people are looking to solve a problem, a little different for entertainment. And when you can start answering questions that people are asking verbatim in their mind, they're going to start to come to you. And that's, you know, kind of what I help the experts that I work with. But
yes,
it sounds like you're kind of
right. Well, the best thing to do is to research all these topics first, you know, research all of these things and then find other people that have already done a really good job on that video and make it better. Make it, you know, put your own style on it, put your own stink on it, you know?
Yeah.
With your own like personality, you know, the way you approach it, like if you have any other information that you could add to it. But I think that if it's already a proven, you know, don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people try to get on here. They try to be like, you know, reinventing the wheel, but I don't think that that's the answer. I think that people need practical answers to practical problems. And that's what,
love that.
And I think that's the power in this. You know, and the funny thing is talking about, you know, getting started and everything, some of the most like people have like literally surprised me of how many people that have gone onto podcasts. So like I have an uncle that's, you know, older and he's a immigration lawyer. I had no idea that he literally pays a whole production company. He's like, I shoot every Wednesday. That's it. I shoot every Wednesday. They come into my office.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're Romanian. We came here from, you know, Romania from communism when I was a young kid, and he ran away. He came to the US and he brought us one family at a time. And then he got his law degree. You know, he went and became an immigration lawyer. Now he wants to help. That's his passion. He wants to help immigrants to navigate the process of becoming citizens. Right. So, I was really shocked. I like literally fired up YouTube and I look him up and he's like speaking Spanish and, you know, Romanian is very close to Spanish. So that's not that impressive, but I'm like really impressed that he literally taught himself Spanish. He taught himself like fluent Spanish. And he's like speaking to the camera like with such charisma in Spanish. I'm like, whoa! And he that led to him getting onto like local radio like the Latino radio stations in Atlanta. That's where he's at. And I'm just like, wow, what the heck? I didn't even know about this, but I just realized that like people of all ages, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you have to shoot video.
Yeah,
I don't care what you're selling.
I agree.
What you're doing. That's the only way that you're going to be able to get in front of people 24/7, you know, like you at their own time. Right.
Yeah.
Like they're usually researching late at night after work.
Yeah.
They put the kids down to bed. They're winding down. Now they're looking at houses. Now they're looking for, you know, that wedding videographer. They're looking for whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, constantly. It's true. I have 4 sisters. So I get to watch that in real time, you know, knowing when they like to scroll and shop. You know, like things will show up at their house that they didn't remember ordering because they were laying in bed when they ordered.
Yeah,
you know,
they had a couple, glass of wine, and
Yeah.
they were tired, and they're like, oh,
yeah, and you're the same product. You
Yeah.
know, you're that product. They find times to, when I say they, I mean consumers now at scale, find time to shop when they can and want to, and it's always happening from here. And you're just as much of a product, that they're looking for. And what you just described with your grandfather or uncle,
my uncle,
your
yeah.
uncle,
Yeah.
is exactly what I do. That's for people that he's not going to leave his office desk. He's not going to push buttons. He's a professional. He's busy. He has the resources. They've got to have the resources to do it, because video is a luxury. It's a luxury service, if you will, because it's a luxury service. The ones who can afford it are shooting with their phones. The ones who can afford it are building studios like this. And then the in-between, the ones that don't want to do that are, you hire somebody who can shoot, somebody who can help you pull your message out. Yeah, this is great, guys.
And we've had, this is not the first one we built. We built a studio for Lucas Lagoons.
Okay.
And a few other guys that have called us and said, I want the exact same thing you have.
Yeah.
I literally just copied and pasted all this stuff,
Yeah.
I even told him, he was here with this videographer that, and they're on network television, and I'm like, here's the model for this microphone. Here's what this arm is. Here's what that light is. Here's what I'm like.
Yeah.
I can send you the YouTube link or the
links for
links to buy all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I can send you a couple of tutorials on how to put it together and everything, And then I'm just like, there's no secrets here. We have no secrets.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate thing, is you have to give, right?
Yeah.
That's the ultimate value, is you have to give away the secret. You have to.
Yeah.
On video and in business and everything, because those people that are keeping their cards close to their chest, at the end of the day, what's the point?
Very tempting when you're new, when you're not earning yet, when you haven't dialed in, a niche, when you're kind of doing spray and pray.
Yeah.
Very tempting to, and there's a place for paywalls, right? But like,
that's true, right?
Yeah,
but
there's a place, but it's very tempting to, hide, and it just ends up when you find people that are thriving, if you will, flourishing, or at least, doing the climb, they all start to get it, like, oh, this is, if
abundance
I just make this,
mindset.
Yes. Yes.
It's an abundance mindset, because if you're just desperate and, hungry, it comes off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think at the same time, when you're sitting here in front of this microphone, the number one thing you have to tell yourself is you're giving away secrets. That's just the way it's got to be. You have to give value.
Yep.
I can't just sit here and be like, I will help you find a house. How? What are the hurdles? What are the challenges? If you sit there and try to cling on to those secrets, then you can die with your secrets.
Yeah.
And you will never go anywhere.
Yeah.
So people think that, everything's got to be like, got to pay me first before I'll give you anything,
Yeah. Now you're reassuring my methods, man. You're reassuring my methods. I love it.
So at the same time, I think we all kind of listen to Gary Vee. We all kind of listen to the same people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, at the end of the day, I think he even says that I can tell you everything, how to do it step by step, but you're not going to do it.
Right.
You're just not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's what I bank on. I bank on that somebody's going to hear me and go, I don't want to push the button. He's right. I don't want to push the button. I want to keep being awesome lawyer, or I want to keep being amazing realtor, and, thrive at that. And then now I'm going to help pull up, in the hair business, which is where is the only place I ever really claimed to be an expert and have expertise. I was kind of bred into that. It was just like, just pull the person up behind you. Don't push them down. Don't put your foot on the head of the person to step up. Pull them up with you, and you'll be amazed at just how, easier it gets. I think the word is easier, really, and whenever you hear somebody that's having success, they do always make it sound very easy. And, the top coaches that I work with, they make things sound really easy, and, they take complicated things and make them simple. But I think you're right. I think it's that abundance mindset, or whatever they would call it. It's that I'm not worried about you stealing my ideas. In fact, I will gift them to you if you will take them in your life and make it better along the way.
Exactly. Exactly. As long as you apply it and you're going to actually run with it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that come in here, you know, they'll do a podcast or two and give up, you know, disappear, poof, and then because it didn't work.
Yeah. I wrote about that this morning in my
It
newsletter. Literally wrote about that today.
The 2 podcasts didn't make me a millionaire. You know, it's because they're not regimented. They're not, you know, they don't have that discipline of repetition and but it's hard for everybody. I can't say that because, you know, I've got a problem with finding time and doing what we're doing right now. And that's what this platform is just, it's here to make it easier, but you still have to have the time, right?
Yeah, I love it. So how do people get access to this space?
Yeah, you can give us a call. You can you can Google Sunbiz Studios. And how can people get in contact with you?
Well, thank you for putting it right behind there. SolomeProductions.com. There's a book a call link. I'm on Instagram at Chris Solomay, ChrisSulimay. And I'm super active in Southwest Florida. I do travel the country and the globe depending on like where somebody, you know, if somebody's having an event or something like that. But I'm trying to stay more in local. Florida. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Really appreciate it.
We appreciate you. And I appreciate the new friendship.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris, for joining us today. And thank you all for watching this podcast today. It's a little bit different than what I normally do, but I just wanted to highlight Chris and what he does. And sort of, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to get into this crazy world of video, you can always reach out to us. We're always here to answer your questions, and we've got the studio here in Sarasota. Thank you so much. Have a great day.